And live.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to
Hey,
another edition of the most amazing award-losing podcast. This week we have a very special guest. It's Eric Wigman. And as you can see, his hair looks good, so I don't think he wears a wig.
no,
But
man. Boom.
Lá está. Yeah, I still
Oh,
miss
yeah.
I, I still miss the sound effects.
Yeah, we need to get better budget so we get the rim shot.
Yes, exactly. So,
Starting well.
yeah,
Starting well.
exactly. So as you know, we are like in December, so holiday season is coming. So that's why I'm going to let our own Santa Claus talk, not because he's fat, but just because he's old.
I guess who could that be? I guess it's me, right? Okay, so everyone, welcome to the final indeed podcast of 2020. It was a bit of a crazy year, so we decided we'd still didn't want to go on holidays without joining you guys one last time. So indeed, I'm Miguel from the Netherlands. Armando is calling from Portugal, and Ruben, as usual, calling all the way from Russia. And today we have a very special guest, as Armando said. Eric is a UX expert. Full disclosure, Eric works for the same company as I do. He's a colleague of mine at Product League. But he's going to talk us a little bit about the importance of UX and his own path to UX within our ecosystem. All right, Eric, take it away. Talk us a little bit about yourself, then, man.
Well, very good. Thank you guys for like inviting me, and like also like that I'm like the last person like in 2020 that can join you in this beautiful podcast that I saw like already
You
100
don't need
times.
to
No,
lie
no, I'm
because
like,
you're not going to be
I'm
fired,
like
okay?
I'm lying a little bit now. I saw it 0 times, sorry, but I heard Miguel sometimes, the old guy, as you like just said. Like sometimes he was like in a room like talking somewhere in the office. So thank you guys. It warms my heart that I can come like as the last person in this year. Well, my name is Eric. I live in Utrecht in the Netherlands. I was born in the east of Holland. Well, I will tell you my whole story then. Um, and I moved to Utrecht when I was like a student. I live here now for 13 years. I'm living together with my girlfriend. She's from Mexico.
Cool.
So
There's a sombrero in your background, right?
there's actually like a little sombrero here. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Um, so so that's very cool. So like I often visit Mexico. Not this year. Like that's a real bummer. Normally I go like 2 times a year or something to see her family and the beach.
Of course.
The
Makes
beach
sense.
and then her family, maybe like the other way around.
Yeah, I'm sure they're not listening in. You can be you
No,
can
I
be
know.
honest.
Like if there's someone, no, like they will like go with the chancla, no. Uh, and my girlfriend is not here, so I don't have to be afraid of her. Yeah, I start my part like the UX, like it went like quite. I don't know, like it's like a long time ago that I started like to design things, and I think I was like, I don't know, like 13 or 12 or something. I had like this interest for design and computers and stuff like that. First, I wanted to be like an architect, not like an architect you guys know, but like more like building houses and stuff like that. That's no code, but that's really like drawing things. um, and yeah, after a while, like I don't know, like I started to well, at that moment, like I started to make websites with with Microsoft front page, like you guys probably know that.
Classic.
Yes,
Yeah,
Classic.
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 So I do like I started to know a little bit like HTML and like well, at that moment, like I still have to like to go back. But you made like website in tables. Did you guys remember? Like, probably. So that was very cool. Then I started to do some education like in it when I was 16 till I was 20. Then I started on the university like or like for my bachelor. 4 years. It was a communication design, digital communication. It's called by then. And like in the meanwhile, I was like working already for a small company. It's called on that it was Planet Bits, I think. And I was actually like the only employee, and there were like two owners, and we were like making small applications for small companies. So I was like we did like applications, but also like videos and stuff like that. So I was the cameraman, the editor, the developer, the designer, the UXer. I don't know if UX like I don't know. I never called myself a UXer by then because it was more like a user interface designer or like more like that UX designer. I don't know if that term was there already like on that moment.
Do you want to take this opportunity or at least a call out to later on to make the difference between the UI and UX? Because a lot of the times we kind of bundle them together.
That's super cool, but maybe let's
let's let it finish up, but let's remember that one.
Well, then like I finished my study and stuff like that, and I started to being more professional. So in the meanwhile, in my study, I already decided that I wanted to do more like interaction design, UX, stuff like that. Then I started to my personal life, and that was like I don't know, like 10 years ago or something, or like my business life, and that was like 10 years ago. But I say business, but it still feels like a hobby sometimes. So like it's that's a good part in life, and I think that's what it should be. Like work should be a hobby and nothing else. Like in that case, and it's always nice to earn some bucks with it as well. But
I was going to say if it's a hobby, I'll tell HR to stop sending you the salary.
Okay, so just a disclaimer here: no people will be fired during the course of this podcast, but
this is a safe zone.
Yes,
this is a safe zone.
So he can say like
afterwards.
Old boss is like
Otherwise, the next time, like I'm invited to this podcast, I'm like under a bridge or something like that. Like, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The life after being a UXer as an employee on the dole.
Yeah. So in the meanwhile, I did like a couple of things. So I was like in a company that was like more on the design side, like an agency. I was in a company that was more on the conversion side, like more on the sales side, like e-commerce. For a year, so that's a totally different like thing in UX than like on the design side for sure. You guys probably know. Then I was more in consultancy, so that was for like a bigger company, and then I landed in Product League, which I still work and I still enjoy it. So
still
and
is the key word.
Still, exactly.
Scary, right?
But so a quick question before we actually go to Miguel's question was, in which point of your career did you actually really started doing UX?
That's the question. What is UX, right?
Talk us through about this difference, and then when did you feel like you jumped to the second side of the definition?
I think like everybody that is in like a software development team has something with UX to do, and well, like in the spectrum, like what the things. If you search on the internet, what is a UXer, you can like have like a nice overview of what an UXer does, and like. It goes like all in the front, like from stakeholder management to front end. So it's back end. They always try to cut loose of the thing. But yeah, that's the whole spectrum. So it's quite wide. So like I don't know. I think, yeah, even when you code something like, well, more like the front end side, you're like doing something with UX, like user experience on that moment. It on that moment goes about animations or placing of objects or like loading time and all those things. They're all UX in the end, user experience. So yeah, that's when did I start? That was I think when I was in 2000. For my feeling, was like somewhere in 2008, I think, when I was making a platform for parents to search for a babysitter. I think like in that moment, like I started to have that feeling like, okay, this is actually what I wanted to do. I wanted to listen to the users. I want to see how we can lure, for example, users into buying things. Like how does that work, etc. So that was more the time at that moment.
Okay. So, but basically, you highlighted something here where basically you feel that the UXer is in the pipeline of discovery and comes at a point that's maybe a little bit earlier than a lot of people when they talk about user or interface design believe, right? So you feel that the discovery process, the analysis process is imbued in the UX, in a full-blown UX, right?
Yeah, so like you have like your whole UX cycle like there, and UI is part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
it's not UX. Yeah, well, it's part of UX, but it's not like if you say like a UX designer, he's drawing screens, for example. Yeah, that's not what we do. Like in the end, it's part of the job. But it also depends what kind of UXer you are. Like, are you more like on the visual side? Or are you like more on the research side? It depends. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they do a little bit more stakeholder management, but it depends. And it also depends like which company you work and like what your employer and the client like asked from you, like in the end.
Well, actually, one of the things that is interesting is some years ago UX became very trendy, trendy marketing-wise, trendy market-wise, jobs-wise. And one of the things that happened was obviously many people started, like companies started putting the label UXer. So I'm what? I'm a UXer. I do UX, I do design, I do front end. I'm a unicorn in the truth, bottom line, but I am a new UXer. And this creates a problem, which is it gets confusing to the people to understand where to draw the line. So, for example, when someone presents himself as I'm a new UXer, what would be the three things that you'd be expecting that person that would do? And this is a highly open and generic question, but the thing is like, what are the three things that that person for sure does?
Yeah, that's a really hard question. Like, well, I cannot like give a generic answer there because it really depends because it's such a like not very an old profession. It's also something that like people are still searching for. So I cannot give you the holy grail
Definitive,
answer
yeah.
here.
But you can give three that come to your head.
Yeah. I think it's UXer is an ambassador of the users that use the platform in the end. That's really important. It's also about, but it also depends which company you work in, what kind of like assignment you do. But for example, in Product League, sometimes I'm feeling that we're validating the top down, like with the bottom up, like in the end. So it's like the business, what they're trying to do. They're trying to push like progresses and processes like into their employees, right? Like you should like work like this, and sometimes sometimes it looks like they don't see the reality, and like users work like most of the times they work like totally different. They're like, yeah, this process from this supply chain manager, I don't really care. I think like as a user experience designer, you validate that like in the company, you talk with the users. Because sometimes the people from the business or headquarters, they don't like talk with the users on the work floor. So that's why you have like UXers like talk to them, and like you kind of report back to the headquarters and say like, well, it's cool that you have this process, but the process of this guy and your guys, like it doesn't match. So that's two. And I think what a UXer should do is taking away all the whys in an application. So every time a user comes like on a page, he also always has question marks. And if you take away all those question marks, then you're like a good UX designer in the end.
Okay, perfect. So let me ask you this. What do you consider to be the biggest impacts of a bad UX design?
Question marks. And like a lot of usage of your brain in the end.
Because
if users have to think, then it's bad UX
yeah,
design.
one of the things I feel, and this is a personal experience, not sure if you guys feel the same, but um, probably like 90%, I'm not going to say 100%, but okay, let's say 99% of the people here that is watching us will have a smartphone. So you go to App Store, Play Store, whatever store, and you'll see when you try to search for something, unless it's something that you use for work or something that you know already, if you search for something, let's say even a game, if you're looking for something new, you will have lots of things for the same thing. Like you have a lot of competition trying to fill the market, to fill the void, and to bring your attention. And one of the things I personally feel is that every time I install a new application, the first 30 seconds is like a make it or break it, because if in 30 seconds I get somewhat frustrated by the usage of application, either because it's sluggish, it has bugs or something like that, most likely I'm just going to delete the application and I will never go back. Okay. So this is like, how do you feel about this? Would you think this is something that occurs a lot, like people trying an application for the first time? And when I say application, it could be web application, mobile application, something that has a design to it, something that has an interface with the user. And if they feel frustrated, if it's harder to get them to come back to use it again, unless of course it's something they are that is mandatory to
Obliged to
use,
do.
like enterprise or something like that.
For example, Microsoft. Um, like trying to reset your password for Skype, for example. I had to do it, otherwise I was already gone. Yeah. Yeah, true. Like what you're saying is right. Some people are, well, you have like type of users, like in the end. So some people are like coming back. Some people, like, for example, if you say like, it's my feeling, for example, you're like one of their target groups. Maybe there's also like another kind of like target group that has like a different behavior. But that's what we're trying to see in that moment. Like, what are their pains and gains, and what do they want to achieve, for example, and like if you don't give that to them like on that moment, indeed, like in the first 15 minutes, then they may exit and delete the application of or like. And it's also like, for example, with a game, maybe the interface and the user experience is all great, but maybe the game
Is full of
doesn't
microtransactions,
for
like the guys
example,
from
yeah.
Electronic Arts. Which,
I guess
and I
so.
want to I want to make a parenthesis here, because I just learned today that our good friend Santa Claus, also known as Miguel, worked for Electronic Arts like long time ago, way before microtransactions flooded the Electronic Arts game. So he's the one to blame. Blame him.
No, at the time it was a mildly respectable company. So yeah, it was already in the turning point.
I
But
just
yeah.
had to put this like for people to blame you. But let's carry on.
I thought everyone knew that I had worked for EA back in the days. So I think I only surprised you now. But still getting on this matter that Armando said. I mean, um, how much do you, for example, observe that the investments that you have to put, or the sweet spots that you have to find for the initial attraction of someone in an app, so they're like buying these 30 seconds or these 3 minutes, versus the long-term usability once they stuck around? Do you find that these things are, a lot of the times, they conflict, or actually not so much? Because again, I mean, presumably, I'm drawing a parallel here to microtransactions. If you put a game up at €0, people will jump in, and then at some point you need to bring in the pain for the long run. When you create an application, how is it to balance the first experience and the first opinion with the long-term usability once they're converted?
Yeah, so it's like the attract versus the buy thing. Yeah, sure. Like, well, it also depends how you attract the people, of course, and what they read about you. It's about social pressure. It's about authority. It has like in it, but I think like you guys want to talk more about the first time you open the app versus the I don't know, like the 1,000th time like you open the app, right? Or something. Is it like that? Well, the thing is, like, what you want to know there, because like I'm not, like, I don't know really if I can like also give the holy grail. It's like to ask the users. So like if you want to know like what the users want like in that application, for example, and there comes the ROI or the return on investment on for UX on UX, is that it's the same with. There's a cool example of selling apple pies, for example, on the internet. So what you can do is baking 1,000 apple pies, right? It's like creating the whole application. But if you first make 5 apple pies, for example, and maybe 5 with a different flavor, and 5 or like 10, let's say 10, 5 with a different flavor and 5 with another flavor, and you ask your users to try it, for example, first, they can say, well, this apple pie tastes like shit, but then you didn't have to make like 1,000 apple pies, right? So that's the same thing with applications. So if you first try to see what the users want, what are the points they get like attract to your app, and like how can you see that in their journey, and like what do you have to offer them to stay, for example. It's still not 100% like in the end, but it works a little bit better than just like throw something on the market. I think there UX comes in handy.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't know if that's like really like the answer on your question, but
I think that there's an interesting point that UX is like warm pies, meaning the faster you fail, the faster you can actually improve.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So how does this translate to the way of working that currently, the teams that you're involved does? I mean, for example, do you try to shift left certain things for the discovery? So when a sample project starts, what do you try to do so you can validate the 2 tastes of pies in the beginning, so that in the long run the production already has the better formula?
Yeah, so what we try to do is like to have a good discovery phase to start making concepts, for example, and instead of making like already like all the designs, that takes a lot of time, right? And like and I know OutSystems is fast, but even sometimes it can, like we can make like a concept like in an hour and test with one user, for example, in 2 hours. If you do it like really quick, you have to travel there and you have to ask and like make appointments and stuff like that. So most of the times I think like interviewing one person, I don't know if it's 2 hours, probably cost like 1 day or something, because like with all like what you have to do. But yeah, what we're trying to do is like to test the concept already to see if there's already flaws in it or something that is not working, or validating the real life with the headquarters like life, for example. Yeah, if you validate that already, or if it's wrong, you can like yeah, you can turn it into something different or try something new. You can also say, okay, I'm going to develop this already directly, and that will take like, what is it, like 1 or 2 sprints, for example, which is 4 weeks. Well, that costs a lot of time if you have to go all the way back, like in your team, like to the beginning. So that's a waste of time, and that's the same with the apple pies in the end. Like you have to throw away 1,000 apple pies, which you don't want to do, right?
Exactly. And actually, one of the things that I find is interesting also in your experience, and I'd like to hear your opinion, is there a difference between doing UX for, imagine, for the mass market, meaning for applications for end users? Is it different from making applications for enterprise, meaning for internal users? And if it's different, how do you see the difference? How do you feel the difference?
Yeah, like B2C, it's most of the times it's about sales. Like you want to sell something to them, even well, for example, microtransactions. We go back on that one. No, it's you want to sell something. So like it's more about persuasion. So like you want to, maybe lure is like a little bit like a dark word, but like what you're trying to do. Look on Booking.com, for example. If you're there, like every rule there is of like every sentence or like image is there to persuade you to book a room, right? So that's more a B2C. That's an e-commerce. Like, for example, I don't know if you guys use Airtable, for example, which is like an Excel on steroids. You should look it out. Look it up. It's funny. But even there, it's for free. But there's like those little persuasion in it that you need to upgrade your plan, for example. So it's all about selling things. In the enterprise world, like sometimes B2B, like yes, sometimes it's about selling, right? That some things are blocked or like most like those kind of things. The applications we make is more like about tasks to be done. Like so, it's more like a process you have to go through, or like a process we optimize with an application, and like on that moment. Yeah, there's a difference because on that moment you don't need to use like the persuasion tricks. It's not about like you need I don't know social proof to pack a container or something like that, or like like our company does this already 50 years, so you have that authority. No, you don't need that. But like in B2C. It's and also B2B. It like depends what you want to sell. It's really important that you come up with those things. The other ones are like more, screens with why am I doing this and what am I looking at and what do I have to do. It's more steps, like in the end.
Mm-hmm. And you were saying about optimizing processes of the client. So there is a discovery phase, and here. What's your take on the involvement of pure, like analysts, and the involvement of UX analysis on cleaning up processes? Because to put a little bit of a bracket here, I mean, we come from the OutSystems world where for a long time it was all technology. It was just coding, and then around version, I think 6 of the platform, there was this discovery that the usability was very important. So a lot of the times we come from the viewpoint that the usability is more like interface design through the historical limitations of how we used to do things. Now we realize that the UX is an integral part of keeping the people there, but we're still in the phase of figuring out who's the best people to do what in this whole thing, which is deliver a better application. So, for example, how much does the way it is represented on the screen influence maybe a company doing a process completely different from first principles? Like, oh, now that I think of it, I don't need this stage. How have you seen it, the feedback to the initial process analysis?
Well, so how was the initial process analysis then? Because that would be interesting for me to know. That's my question then.
Okay, so for example, imagine that the client says, well, we want to streamline and digitize the process, order approval process, okay? And they come to us with this request, and they want us to, presumably you've seen this a lot of times, they want us to implement exactly what they do with all the crappy steps, and they just want a lick of paint on top. The question here is, maybe there's someone that does process analysis to realize that certain steps aren't needed anymore. And then maybe the UXer could come at the separate second stage, which is, okay, now how do I convey this version 2.0 of the process already into usability, and maybe get feedback a little bit so we find it. Or you could argue that, you know what, I could be the person who helps create the version 2.0, the streamlined process. How do you feel these roles being brought into cleaning up the initial process?
The initial process. Oh yeah, like that. It's a process in a process. The thing is there that like in the old ways, man, that sounds a little bit weird, but in the old ways they didn't. If you don't talk to the user, you don't know how your process is really executed, right? So on the moment you have. Well, we saw these examples like the last 1.5 years. I'm working for Product League. Like I saw those like things already happening a lot. Like that the headquarters, they don't know what happens on the working floor. So they have like a process in mind. And like if you go, for example, to a distribution center, for example, what we're trying to do is like to walk with them like for a couple of hours and like even help them, for example, with doing their job and see what they're doing like in their process. And we know that we have like the process steps from the headquarters like on paper, and we're trying to check like is this really what they're doing, and we walk with them like with several people so we can see the differences. And most of the time what we see is that like they do it totally different. Well, like in basics they do it kind of like they have like a start and the end, but like in the middle they do something totally different. And on the moment like they have that freedom and they're like happy with that. If you make an application on that moment, like you can say like, well, this is the process, this is how you have to work. And they say like, yeah, sure, but like in the middle part, I'm free. I'm just doing what I want, right? Like if I want to do A, C, B, E, F, D, for example, like that, it's all fine for me because there's like something that I have to deliver in the end. But of course, the company wants to have it A, B, C, D, E, F. So if you make an application from like with the requirements, with the business requirements, like on that moment, and you don't have the user requirements there, you're going to make an application that goes like in screens A, B, C, D, E, F. Mm-hmm. So on the moment like a user gets that screen, he struggles with it because he said like, well, but but normally I always go to C before I do B, for example. But in an application, you cannot do that. Like on the moment you make like process steps or like a process step application. Like on that moment, like if you talk to users, you make a totally different application, because then you say, for example, well, you can choose yourself, for example, to do step C first instead of B. But yeah, that's the part of the user experience designer. I think that's a different way. And at that moment, you see that they kind of like do it differently, and you can say like, well, okay, headquarters, like we can do both things, or we can push them into your process. That's fine, but you will see that people, I don't know, stand up and say like, hey, what are we doing here? Like those fuckers from headquarters, right? Yeah, that's like the thing. So you want to connect them a little bit, also to optimize the process, like in a later phase.
Okay.
I think that's
we
really
have
important.
so today we have very restrictive timeline. So we need to pretty much wrap up. So I would ask you one last question. What would be for you like the 3 do's and the 3 don'ts of a proper UX design?
The 3 do's and the 3 don'ts. It's
Yes.
funny, you sent the email with that question like super late, so I have to think about every answer.
Yeah, we want to try to catch
Yes,
you
of
off
course.
guard.
Yeah, man. This on the Thursday afternoon, right?
Or let's put this differently, okay? So you are a designer, and well, I'm not sure if it works the same way as you, but at least from my perspective, and probably it's shared by Miguel and Ruben as well. When we look at an application, since our background is around developing them, we start thinking about how does this work like this, what they are doing in the background, things like that. So when you look, so let's now put yourself as a consumer. You are looking at a software, an application, or something from the first time. What would be, from your experience, 3 things that commonly you find like deeply irritating, but so common that you don't understand why people keep doing those mistakes over and over again?
Yeah, so like, well, I've the 3 don'ts are like quite easy for me. For example, like don't, as a UXer, don't think UX is the only thing in the project, because like there's like still that sweet spot there of system, a business and user like thing. Another don't is don't think the world is UX perfect, because like every time, especially for really young people that start like in a company after their study, they think they can do all the research they want, and clients always want to do it, but yeah, then you come like in the real world, and the real world sucks like in that moment, because you have to you want to do 100%, and in the end of your research you can do 1% probably, and with that 1% you also still have to make a cool application. Yeah, the other don't is don't focus on what I always think is like, some people are like making like design sometimes with parallax and like all those things, and like make sure that you know like who's your target group there, because like don't make a website because you want it to be pretty. You have to make an application or a website that helps people out. That's really important.
Yeah.
To achieve a goal, exactly. So the do's there are really so like make sure you take away all the whys from users. That's really important. Also, the do is don't look too much but they're like kind of like like do's and don'ts. Like you can also like turn the other ways around, and then they're like do's in the end. Yeah, but take away whys from users. That's so important, and let them understand like what are they doing on the screens. That's for me, that's the big do there. And the big do is like listen to everybody in your team, at your client. Like don't be and level, especially level with your users. That's a really do that you have to do. Like sometimes you see that people are going like in suits to their users, right? Like in the moment like a user has like a working suit on, you put a working suit on because you want to level with
Yeah.
them, and you want to make sure that they understand they can tell you everything. And on that moment, like you don't have anything in mind or like an opinion about that guy. You just talk to him, and like you want to have information. That's a real do. You take away whys, and also like a do is collaborate with your team, and listen to all your members in your team. If it's like from tester, developer, like PO, BA, whatever, and work with them. I think everybody has a good understanding of UX, and like most of the times they have awesome ideas. It's not just the UXer himself. UX is about a collaboration in the team, not about one guy that think he's awesome and like think he can point like with his red pen on little pixels, right? Like it's like, yeah, that one is like 1 pixel to the left. Yeah, who cares? Like nobody will see it.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
that's
so we are running out of time for today. Um, so first of all, this was the first year, and we need to wrap up a bit on the year of Beyond the Code. First year, a lot of sessions. It was really fun. Uh, in 2021, we will be back. Okay, with new guests, with surprises for a lot of you. Hopefully, you will enjoy. If you don't, well, too bad, I guess. You can file the
Well,
complaints to Miguel.
well, the 5 people that watch it for sure they enjoy.
Yeah.
They keep coming.
Hey,
So
it's my 5 laptops.
Okay.
maybe it's my 5 colleagues. You never know.
Who knows? Who knows? Who
Could
knows?
be.
But I think it's at least for 2020, it has been a pleasure, and I will hope to see you, well, the two of you, and maybe Eric in the future as well, 6 months from
Yeah,
now.
with a little bit more time.
Yes,
Yeah.
with a little bit more time, and once after, or hopefully it still works at Product League, so we'll let you know. And that's pretty much it for
Even
now.
if he's not working at Product League, then I'm sure he will be very, very much invited over
Yes,
and welcome.
of course, and probably rich. Probably
And
rich.
probably.
Hopefully. We can only hope.
Hopefully.
So that's it for today. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in 2021. Bye bye.
Yeah. Everyone, have
bye.
a great
Thank you.
one. Take care. Till next time.
Till next time. Ciao.